Hello, I'm Darren again. The topic for today's video comes from questions asking what is meant by the term word salad, and why do so many narcissistic people use word salad whenever they're engaging with others? Well, word salad was originally a term that was used to describe how people with a diagnosis of a psychotic disorder would try to express themselves. It described patterns of disordered speech that was difficult to understand due to their problems forming a proper syntax when trying to communicate. More recently, it has become a term that refers to when someone just throws words and phrases together into sentences, just like the ingredients of a tossed salad. They make no sense, they can be contradictory or inaccurate. There is, however, a bit more to it than that. It has become a term that's associated with narcissists and politicians. How they say things to confuse, how they can talk around a subject without actually answering any questions, how they can change the direction of a conversation or shift the focus away from the issue at hand. Almost everything narcissistic people do is about manipulation. They might use word salad when confronted with something they don't want to talk about. Perhaps they're being called out, or maybe they're being upstaged. It can involve what's known as linguistic ambiguity. No one really knows what it is they're trying to say, what it really means, so they find it difficult to challenge them on a certain point. They can talk but don't really say anything, but they sound as if they do, or they might say something that could mean any number of things. It also involves twisting other people's words, or twisting the meanings of words, just to confuse others to the point where they're left in more doubt, more confusion than when they started. But the general aim of word salad is to deflect, to shift focus, to avoid accountability, to dominate conversations, to confuse their opponents just so they can win, whatever that means to them. So nothing is ever really resolved unless it's on their terms and from their narrative. Sometimes the word salad can be reactive, it just comes pouring out, and it can sound disjointed and nonsensical. Other times, there may be intent there, it may be well practiced and well rehearsed. It could be aimed at provoking a certain response to frustrate, infuriate, humiliate, or to keep others in a state of defeat and despondency, or to have their opponents question their own reality, or to teach them not to question the narrative. So it can be well thought and quite an effective strategy for a narcissist. Narcissists are very competitive and want to win at any cost, even if they do look or sound ridiculous at times. Word salad can make others feel uncertain, unhinged, so the narcissist gets to gain and maintain the upper hand in conversations. So in this video I'm going to outline some of the different type of word salad excuses, deflections in conversations. And if you stick to the end, I'm going to give you 3 examples of some common phrases that usually precede word salad. So in no particular order, the first kind of word salad would be the lengths they go to dismiss something. Now you may have evidence to prove something is right or something is wrong, but they can explain it away with magical thinking, illogical logic, or emotional outbursts. An example would be a guy I used to work with many years ago. He once claimed that the printer attached to his computer had made a spelling mistake. Now, of course, no one believed that. We thought that was ridiculous. But he did go to great lengths to explain the alchemy involved between clicking print and a page coming out of a printer. The less we took him seriously, the more fantastical and convoluted his explanations became. Secondly, there's being condescending and patronizing. Narcissists tend to believe themselves to be the most intelligent person in the room. They are never wrong. So they tend to talk down to others, using what they believe to be intelligent words, technical language, or sometimes just psychobabble. Sometimes they'll use phrases they've heard from others that they think sound intelligent, even if they're using them out of context. But the aim is to protect their fragile, false sense of self by making others look inferior, sound or look foolish, less intelligent. If someone were to question what exactly it is they're talking about, you might hear a wry laugh, see them roll their eyes, before they start talking as if they're having to explain something to a child. Then there's the written word salad. This usually comes in emails, text messages, or social media posts. The sort of thing that goes on for page after page, paragraph after paragraph, with nothing of any real value in it. Now, I suppose it is possible they could just be feeding off the idea that someone has to read the whole damn thing probably a few times to try to decipher it. But there can be a more passive-aggressive agenda there. For instance, Maybe you get an email at work, you probably find it's about 10, 15 paragraphs long. Most of the organization has been copied into it, and it's full of words like notwithstanding, hitherto, moving forward, and perpendicular. And it could all be just to say, please do things the way I tell you to because I like to feel as if I'm in charge. Next, there's circular reasoning and circular arguments. This tactic is often aimed at draining and frustrating their opponents until they just back down. With circular reasoning, nothing ever gets explained. They just keep going over the same thing again and again without elaborating on anything, without actually explaining anything. An example of circular reasoning would be trees are made out of wood. Well, what is that? It's the thing that trees are made out of. And after going round in circles, after a while, the other person sees they're getting nowhere and eventually just gives in. In a circular argument, they just keep regurgitating the same nonsense, trying to find fault, using their opponent's own words against them until eventually the opponent just gives in, accepts whatever it is they're being accused of. Circular reasoning and circular arguments ignore any questions or legitimate points. The only way anything is ever resolved is on their terms, where they are right and everyone else is wrong. Over time, the people around them learn not to challenge them, question them, or even defend themselves against them, because it will go nowhere. Next, there are constant interruptions, just talking over the top of someone. Now, this usually happens when a narcissistic person feels threatened by perhaps another person's level of competence, their popularity, or their intelligence. So, in order to regain some kind of superiority, some kind of dominance, every time that person talks, they interrupt them, they nitpick, they criticize, they try to correct them. Sometimes they will pick up on an irrelevant point and steer the conversation into a direction where they feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more in control. But the aim here is to shut down their opponent by silencing them, and if they can't do that, they will at least make it very difficult for others to hear what they have to say. And next, there is answering around a question rather than answering the question. For instance, someone might ask a narcissist, are you able to repay me the money you borrowed? Now, they're not necessarily going to get a yes or a no. Instead, they might get something like, a lot of friendships come to an end because of envy, and it's usually envy around money. In fact, a lot of relationships come to an end because you usually find one person much more controlling over the money than the other person. By the way, do you remember that coffee I bought you 12 years ago? Well, if you remember, I didn't chase you around the place demanding that you buy me a coffee in return. But I suppose I'd better go sell my car, my dog, the very shirt off my back, just so that you can get your precious money back. By the way, I hope you enjoyed that coffee 12 years ago because it's the last coffee I'll ever buy you. And I'm going to make sure everybody knows how mean you are with money. And conversations like that are exhausting. Sooner or later, the other person stops asking for their money back. It's just going to go nowhere. And lastly, sometimes they just say whatever they have to, regardless of what it is, regardless of how it sounds. They say it because they can't not have an answer. They can't not have an opinion. So, there are just a few examples of when and how narcissistic people use word salad. But regardless of how and when they use it, if you're dealing with someone who has very strong narcissistic traits, chances are you're dealing with someone who is very competitive, very envious, and very manipulative. So generally, you're not going to get any kind of genuine or sincere form of communication or discourse, because it's all about manipulation, confusion, misdirection, silencing, and controlling. Sometimes they might just be blatantly lying, just making things up. Other times, they might be trying to convince someone of whatever they think the narrative should be. There are many other examples I could have used. As always, please use the comment box below. There are some interesting conversations started around these videos. But also, please let me know in the comments section if you'd be interested in hearing more about recognizing the more subtle forms of linguistic ambiguity, word salad, that often go unnoticed and under the radar at first. But if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, thanks for watching. Now, certainly not in every single case, but I think there are 3 common phrases that are often an indicator that you're about to be hit with word salad, nonsensical reasoning, convoluted explanations, and gibberish. The first one is, let me be perfectly clear, which they generally aren't. The second one is, you have to remember. and then they'll bring up something that has got nothing to do with the topic that's being discussed. And the last one, I think it's important, and then they scramble around in their head trying to find something important to say.